I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:01. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from May 22nd, 2018 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? I want to add under immediately following as a subcategory to members of the public, I would like to add a warning. Anything else? Anybody? All right, then moving on to members of the public, I would just like to say for the camera's point of view, if you speak, please identify yourself so that they're able to identify you on tape. When this video comes out, please speak clearly so everyone can hear you. I'm going to start this by acknowledging that we did receive the petition. I don't know what the final count was on it, somewhere in the vicinity of about 110. We have, in fact, received it. We did take it to an attorney to ask him. We weren't certain exactly what you were asking us or asking of us. So we did take it to council and had council review it. And I'm going to read the letter that council sent back to the select board giving us our options on the basis of the petition that you did submit. It says, "Dear select board members, I understand a petition was received by the town on May 25th, 2018, asking that action be taken to implement interim zoning to protect Townshend Scenic Corridor. I have reviewed the petition and have the following comments. Number one," and I'm going to make reference to a specific statute. I believe there are some copies available for anybody who wants to take a look at what we're talking about. Number one, under Title 17, Section 2643 of the Vermont statutes, the select board has to warn a special meeting within 60 days of receipt of the petition by the town. If it determines the petition has the necessary number of signatures that the petition calls for an action that could be legally binding. Further, that warning must be posted not less than 30 days nor more than 40 days before the meeting, and the warning has to be published in the newspaper at least 5 days before the meeting. It shall also be posted on the town website if the town actively updates the website. Number two, I have reviewed the petition to preserve Townshend Scenic Corridor, and I do not think it is a proper petition. First, the Vermont statutes provide that any bylaw for a municipality shall be prepared by or at the direction of the Planning Commission of the municipality. That's 24 VSA section 4441. Second, and importantly, under 24 VSA 4415, the select board cannot adopt interim zoning bylaws unless it is conducting or has taken action to conduct studies or has held or is holding a hearing for the purpose of considering a bylaw. Essentially, the statutes permit interim zoning if steps are being taken to consider the adoption of zoning bylaws. In Townshend's case, the town is not conducting any studies, nor has the town taken any action to conduct studies as to the feasibility of zoning bylaws in the town. Likewise, it has not held and it is not scheduled to hold any hearings for the purpose of considering adoption of zoning bylaws. Under the statute, the town cannot adopt interim zoning bylaws without one or the other of those. Because neither step has been taken, the select board does not have the authority under section 4415 to adopt interim zoning bylaws. Therefore, the petition as it is presented to the town calls for action which is not in accordance with statute. Number three, if the select board were inclined to do so, it could warn a special meeting for the purpose of considering whether the town shall conduct a study as to the feasibility of implementing zoning bylaws in the town of Townsend. However, this would be the first step in the process. In my opinion, the town cannot shortcut the process required under the statutes even for the adoption of interim zoning bylaws. Section 4441 of Title 24 is clear that any bylaw for a municipality shall be prepared by or at the direction of the Planning Commission. It is also clear under Section 4442 that after any bylaw is submitted to the Select Board for its consideration, the Select Board has to hold at least one public hearing on the proposed bylaw. Such a hearing has to be held at least 15 days, but not more than 120 days after the Select Board receives the proposed bylaw. Aside from the issue of how the town may proceed to put the issue of zoning before the town, is the issue of funding the expense of the town study and or the cost of preparing proposed zoning bylaws, including interim bylaws. I expect the town has not budgeted for these expenses, and I expect that such expenses could likely be in the tens of thousands of dollars. In summary, my review of the petition submitted to the town is that it is not a proper petition which requires the town to warn it for a special meeting as written, because it requests action to be considered which is not authorized under Vermont statutes. Second, the Select Board may, on its own initiative, warn a special town meeting for the purpose of considering whether the town shall conduct a study as to the feasibility of implementing zoning bylaws. Please let me know if there are any further questions. Sincerely, Richard Carroll, Esquire. So, the Select Board, using this document, had a meeting last evening and discussed our options. Basically, taking the petition back or giving it back to you and asking the language to be corrected to include an action that the Select Board could actually take, or to go ahead and hold a town meeting, because technically the will of a certain number of people that signed the petition is that this discussion happen. The board last night decided that we would like to move forward with a warning for a town meeting, which we have drafted and we will be looking at and discussing tonight, which is what I just added to the agenda. But that's where we currently stand with both the petition and with our legal representation. Are there any comments, questions? Nobody?
Well,
Yeah.
Mary Merrill, isn't that the reason that we're here tonight, is to see if you would work with it or direct the planning commission to start getting involved in it and moving forward with it?
Well, that's technically not what the petition asked. But yes, that's what we're saying now. What we need to do is we need to take this to the entire assembly, all voters in town. They are the ones that get to decide whether we're going to move forward or whether we let this die on the vine, so to speak. So what this meeting that I'm speaking of, the warning for, would be to do just that, to call the voters together, to have this discussion. We have requested that the attorney be there so he could answer questions from the audience as to what types of zoning could be instituted, what's entailed with the zoning, to answer the statutory questions. But at this point in time, we have a draft warning that if that's the will of the board tonight, we'll bring it forward in a motion to sign that warning, and we will read it. Then we will go ahead and take that to a town meeting. Is there any other questions as to what's going on?
Peter Hood, West Townsend. Tens of thousands of dollars to do a survey? That,
No, that's to come up with a final product bylaw.
tens of thousands of dollars?
That's just his estimate. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't know. And to answer that, the question that's coming on the back heels, we did not budget for any of this. So that at this point is not in our
I think
budget.
it'd be a whole lot easier than tens of thousands of dollars, but I don't know.
There is an awful lot involved. There are numerous hearings, there are maps that should be drawn, there are surveys that have to be done, there's work with Windham Regional Commission. The last zoning plan that was proposed in 1991, which was turned down, was done for about $7,500 on a grant. Grants are available. But they generally run somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000, $12,000, just to get it off the block, so to speak.
Is the old one relevant still?
I would say it's probably out of date. It might be a good boilerplate to start with. And Windham Regional certainly has done enough of these that one could cherry pick an awful lot of vetted language out of, adjoining towns throughout the state that would probably work. You could put zoning together, probably for not very much money, but by the time you pay for the publications and the necessary hearings, the mailings and all of that, you're gonna be into it for many thousands of dollars, and that's with volunteer labor. And contracted labor with Windham Regional, but with a lot of volunteer help to type and do the grunt work, so to speak.
Urban Soul. But you people don't realize it costs a lot of money just to have a zoning administrator. That's not free. Until you start, and what you're asking, you want to hit us down here on the main drag, but you want to lose your damn miner up on the hill. Or back away from the main road. That's the way you're talking. No, I think that's a discrimination.
Okay, I didn't see whose hand came up first, so we'll start right in the back and then we'll come forward.
Michael Longo. What you read from your attorney and all is a lot of information and, difficult for me and I imagine other people to absorb. We have a minute or two to process all that and see if there's any kind of a, different approach that we would take.
Different approach to,
what we would do at this point. You're asking for questions. For me, I need to,
Oh,
you said there are copies.
I do have copies of the
the statutes that
Right,
were.
I'm not sure I can read that and
But what
the petition
the petition charged the town, charged the select board with implementing interim zoning. That is not something that's in the purview of the board at this point. And therefore, being that is the beginning of the petition, and that's what the legal charge is. The petition is a legal document, 10% of the voters signed it. In order to address that, the board has to look at it. Statutorily, they can't implement interim zoning. Now, what they can do is get a petition which asks for a special town meeting in which the town authorizes a zoning study, and then the planning commission would come up with a very small or very limited kind of bylaw zoning study, bring it before the select board. There would be more town hearings if the town decided to implement that, then it would be implemented at that point.
how would it be different if it was asking for zoning, not interim zoning?
Well, interim means in the middle of. You have to have zoning to begin with, and you have to be going toward a different kind of, you have to be, if you have stormwater bylaw in your zoning policy and it's 20 years out of date, you're gonna update it, then you can put in an interim clause in order to prevent a Walmart from going with the old stormwater rules while you're upgrading to your new ones. But you have to be in the middle of something. You have to have zoning to begin with, you have to be strengthening that zoning. In the case of, I believe it was South Hero that they were talking about, where Dollar General was fought, I believe. They had zoning rules and restrictions. They decided to limit the size of the building footprint size to a very small one that Dollar General wouldn't get it, so they adopted an interim zoning in the meantime, and then they went ahead and ratified that afterwards. Interim is temporary. It's in the middle of. It's while you're studying something in order to go in a different direction. Townshend has no zoning. It had a proposal in 1977, 1984, 1991. It turned it down very forcefully. And can't have something interim between nothing and nothing, in a sense.
We have to start from scratch first.
So rather than have a petition redone asking for a town hearing on the matter of zoning, does the town want to implement zoning however restricted or however broad? This board would like to take that right from now, take the intent of the, because everyone was sincere in not wanting this to go forward. And to take that into a public hearing at a specially called town meeting sometime in July. And just go forward with that and ask the town and hopefully have some more information.
Well, we're trying to take the intent of the petition and adopt what we can do to move the whole process forward.
Okay, I'll go to Laura and then I'll go back and get you. Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Well, basically, I'm just responding to, is it Irv?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not trying to tell people what to do, we're just trying to protect. It's more, zoning I know is a really nasty word to a lot of people. We're just trying to protect our town from an influx of corporate-owned stores that really don't contribute to the community or contribute to the way that our roads are, or contribute to the fact that people come here to get away from that sort of thing. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to tell anybody, you know, that's already here or that has their own little business what they can do. We're just trying to protect the town and the corridor from uncontrolled development. And that's all we want to do. We're not trying to tell people what color to paint their houses or what kind of shingles they have to have or any of that.
We've lost a lot of tax base, and we still do. People from Newfoundland, Jamaica, or Windham, or wherever, come to Grace Cottage over here. I go there, I pay the same cotton picking amount they do, and the Grace Cottage pays just still nothing. And the same way with the high school here. There's over $3 million worth of appraisal value or more that the town gets nothing out of. Newfoundland, they send their kids, they pay the same damn price as Townshend does. You know, I mean, somewhere, you've got to make a tax base that supports it. You can't keep going up on the cotton picking taxes, especially for the poor people and the retired people.
Can I respond?
Well, wait,
Not allowed.
no, because I don't want to get into the back and forth, because that's not what this is about. We're trying to tell you how we're moving forward. We told you we would give you the procedure, so that's what we should be discussing right now, is the procedure and what's going to happen, etc. So you had a question?
John behind me does. I'm in the middle of a hot argument. It's not the reason I was initially came here, but I wanted to keep my mouth shut. I'll be brief. I'm the zoning officer in Dover. I'm also the health officer.
What was your name again?
Wayne Estee.
Okay.
In this gentleman's comment, I get $22 an hour. I'm a retired attorney. I work 24 hours a week, so that's about $20,000 a year. There's a file room, there's whatever else, office equipment and what have you, and healthcare option I think I get. I don't know, I don't take it because I'm retired. There's forms, as this gentleman mentioned, you have to map out the whole town, and it is not an easy, I walked into the job already done. They had zoning there in 1988. Everything before 1988 was grandfathered. So whatever was, 6 houses on a half-acre lot, that's what it was, and it's not changing. Only new things are subject to the zoning regulations. They're 40 or 50 pages. Sometimes they're clear, sometimes they're not. My authority is supervised closely by the Development Review Board, volunteers with 5 people, noticed hearings. Anything that is not specifically permitted for me to do goes to that public committee. Just like this warrant, with people who have an interest being allowed in and people not having an interest allowed in. Very formal, seen very few things that were, I've been there over a year and a half, about a year and a half. I've seen very few things that were unusual and weren't necessarily reasonable. I'm also the sign guy. And near Mount Snow, every business there wants to put up a giant flashing sign, and they can't do that. And you could end up, I know Vermont doesn't have a billboard thing, but you would think that some of the signs that businesses want to put up and hang over the road might as well be a billboard. You can change the whole character of the town. And zoning can have some value. And there's every contest, there's a winner and there's a loser. But I believe the contests are fair, not because I don't get involved in the decision making. I'm more of a administrator, zoning administrator.
Right.
And yeah, I cost money and work a lot more. But
I could say the same thing, but it doesn't do anything. Thank you. I think somebody in the back also had a question. I thought.
Mike Bills.
Was it Mike?
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, this is not going forward per se, it is a comment to what Eric just said. And yes, I think we're all concerned about what our taxes are going to be. But take into consideration that such development as this can very well be detrimental to the local properties around it, which means we're gonna lose instead of gain.
Good point.
I forgot to mention, I was button right in, I bring in more money in zoning fees than it costs to run my
Your
little.
department.
So,
So just remember that fees is gonna apply to all you who are sitting here and clapping too.
Every time you want to remodel
So just remember that. Andy, do you had a question?
Yes, Andrew Snelling. It's my understanding that the warning that you're about to discuss is to have an article at a special town meeting
Actually, two.
to study zoning, not to draft a zoning or a bylaw that could be presented, but simply to study the issue.
It's to do a feasibility study for zoning for the town of Townsend. That's the way statute reads.
Okay, so it will not result in
It
a
will not.
zoning bylaw that could then be adopted.
Not at that meeting.
Well, the study that we would be voting on is not to develop a bylaw,
It's
it's
to-
to look at the feasibility of zoning.
Exactly. For the planning commission to look at the feasibility of zoning in Townsend.
Okay. A couple other things that I wanted to respond to your comments, Craig. Interim zoning, you do not have to have zoning to have interim zoning. You have to be
In study.
In the
conducted a
in the
study,
process of study.
or had a hearing, or be about to have a study or a hearing.
Okay.
on zoning to do it. Another issue that I would like to respond to, because I think there is some misunderstanding about what zoning can and can't do. Zoning has to be uniform, it has to be fair and consistent, it cannot be discriminatory. For example, you can't have a zoning bylaw that would say there were different rules for people or corporations that were not local, that were, any foreign corporation or foreign individual has to be treated the same way as anybody else. The rules of a zoning bylaw have to be pretty clear and laid out. And I would, propose one thing before we get to talking about zoning. We look at what it is we want to accomplish with zoning. And it can't be the trying to eliminate one particular development. The zoning will be much broader. It's something that will last for years, and it will continue to be evolve and change as it goes forward. It can be particular areas or zones. It can be the entire town. But in general, these sort of bylaws have a way of continuing to expand and grow. They don't usually go backwards. And they can get to be very specific as to what individuals can do with their property and what they can't. And I guess we all have to think about whether we want to be subject to rules that govern the use of our own property. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comments before I actually read the,
I've got a question.
go ahead.
I got a question for Mr. Esty. In Dover in 1988, when they started with zoning, how much did it cost by the time they started investigating it to when they actually implemented it? And my second question would be, in 1988, when they came out with zoning, how many different bylaws have been added and stuff like that since 1988 to the present?
I don't know how much it costs to begin with.
Do you have an idea what it would cost nowadays?
No, I do not. I do
Rough
know
guess.
it's been amended a number of times. I have several versions of it. They're considering in Dover amending it again for medical marijuana dispensaries and just plain old pot shops, which are not permitted right now, not prohibited, and therefore permitted. In fact, I think somebody came and wanted to open a pot shop in Dover before they adopt the ordinance. That is within my purview to just stamp it.
So did it start out as, say, 5 pages and now it's 55 pages, or did it start at 18 and it's now 12?
It probably started out at 30 and now it's 50. But it also includes wildlife areas that you almost have to take special consideration because this is a bear route. I'm across 100 there and every year. It dovetails with the health officer for garbage that the bears get into or bad housing that people are renting. There's a lot of advantages, and I think somebody mentioned that it doesn't get development, it doesn't get smaller, it gets more refined. We recently amended it, a very small part for the gathering place to open up an informal restaurant. Very advantageous for the town. It wasn't contemplated that there would be such a thing in 88 as adult daycare. We had a daycare, kids, said kids. And out of the daycare for adults, had to have that amended and through the Planning Commission and adopted by the Selectboard, and now we have a adult daycare ready to take care of 40, 50 people during the day and employs 8 nurses and things like that. So it's not a bad employment opportunity that we allowed, that was not previously allowed.
Go.
I got a point of order. I believe that anybody that's not a resident of the town of Townshend does not have a chance to speak.
Recognized by the chair.
You're really gonna play this game?
Why should somebody from, I don't care where it's from, Bellasol or something, tell us what we should or shouldn't have?
I don't.
That's a point of order, that's why they're not
Well, we're not
supposed to speak.
asking him to tell us what to do, we're asking him what his opinion is.
Or what his experience is. He's
This
got any
professional
experience we
experience
don't have.
He's a
Okay,
neighboring town.
go ahead.
Terry Davison Berger, Townsend, Vermont. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you because I think that I appreciate you willing to hold a public hearing for consideration, even if our petition was not worded or whatever exactly the way it should be. So I appreciate that. And I was looking at the Vermont Land Use Zoning Administrator's Handbook that was published in October of 2005, and it says that zoning is the most common land use tool in Vermont. Based on a town plan, zoning encourages the appropriate development of land in ways that the voters and local officials have approved. So while obviously to enact interim zoning or zoning is no small feat, I think that there's also some hope in that there is a town plan. And while this is not a binding document and it doesn't lay out all the details of zoning, there is at least a framework of what the voters have approved and decide on what the future they want.
The voters haven't approved that. That particular document doesn't. It goes to public hearings. Voters have an opportunity to comment on it.
Okay.
But the actual adoption of it is by the Planning Commission and then the Select Board.
Okay. So, but at least there is that, and it is something.
A place to start.
But it is a place to start, and it very clearly lays out sort of what the vision for Townsend is. So I think that at least there is this in place to assist with that the process once, depending on what happens at a public hearing.
Anybody else with a question or a comment? Yeah.
Same person. The purpose of this meeting is like this, to try to close the gates after the horses are out. Is there any way, I've looked at Dollar Generals, and I'm kind of the opinion that we have no choice right now. I think it's all in Dollar General's and Kit's hands, as far as I understand. Is there any way that the board can get involved and suggest, if it goes through, something tasteful rather than a box? Because I've seen different ones.
If we had similar to what happened in Chester, is what you're saying?
I've seen one in Chester. I just looked at them online. Some of them look like,
The one in Chester, they spent a fair amount of money with their zoning planning board to actually make it fit into the community from a standpoint where it's not an eyesore. They did that on the basis of their zoning.
Yeah.
So they had that piece in place that they could actually hold up and say, these are the rules, these are the guidelines, this is what we would like. They had a place to negotiate with the company.
Yeah.
I don't see where this board, other than stating our preferences,
Right.
where we have any negotiating room.
The city coordinator does have some authority. I mean, there is
I'm
some
not
leverage.
trying to negotiate, I'm just trying to appeal to their better judgment as to what the people in town would like to see, in other words, you know?
Well, and again, that's,
If that can be done.
we
somewhere.
could certainly write a letter, but it's not based.
We can ask, they can very easily just say no.
We can certainly write a letter,
Yeah.
but I don't know what's going to come of it. The proper way to do this is to avoid it in the future. I mean, this is that first lesson. This is what happens.
Exactly.
And it's-
I saw in your term that something can be done about, possibly, not that it can't.
If they're willing to play the game, they've got much deeper pockets in the town of Townsend has.
Really?
Much deeper. Unless you're willing to go up like 5 or 6 times on your taxes, maybe?
No.
Oh, okay.
But people.
I thought I'd throw that out
Everybody has a retirement account here with Vanguard. You want a piece of Dollar General. So,
In Vanguard, okay.
interesting little
Oh.
points.
That much. I don't have all the terminology, but that document that the planning commission produced and the select board voted on, what is that for? Like, what does that do? Wouldn't this be a case, where it comes up against that?
It's a town plan,
It-
basically. It
What
works
is
with-
in it?
It would have had this fallen under Act 250. So the town actually had party status to the discussion. The town plan would have been the framework that we used to put our case forward as to the different criteria that are in Act 250. That's much below the necessary land acreage to fall under 250. So we, technically, while the document is a guideline, and if we could actually have teeth and a say in this, we could use it. Because it does not fall under the state's jurisdiction,
Exactly.
we could say, here it is, please look, but
And yet
that's
the
about
state
it.
does have jurisdiction, I mean, over the building of a commercial building, and there will be onerous demands put on any commercial building that's put up down there.
But that's more along the lines of building
Building
codes
things like that. Act
and what,
250, right, Act 250 doesn't kick in. But, I mean, there's floodplain consideration, there's septic, there's water, there are all kinds of things.
Does Act 250 kick in if they have warehouses that supply this,
Only if they're adjacent contiguous property.
it has-
Doesn't have to be contiguous.
No, they don't have to be
It
contiguous.
has to be in the
Okay.
same town.
Okay.
They realize that this zoning, if you wanna do anything on your house, you may have what you wanna do, but the zoning might say you can't do it. You've still gotta have permits
Yeah,
and all that stuff. And if you decide you want to porch on the south end and if the zoning says, no, you can't, you're too close to property line, you can't do it. Then you have a board of adjustment you gotta pay for and all that stuff. It isn't just simple.
it's a complex process, there's no doubt. Go ahead.
And isn't this for commercial versus residential?
What we're talking about right now, we are going there. What we're talking about is zoning for Townsend. Do the voters want zoning in Townsend?
Okay.
What form that's going to take is going to be for the people to discuss with the planning commission as they try to pull this
All
together.
right, but I just was thinking that this discussion was more commercial than residential.
Well,
This discussion is select board going forward.
yeah, well, technically, yeah, that's what this discussion is how we're going to take it forward.
Okay.
But yes, it is, it will be up to the people to tell the planning commission as they begin this process, what type of zoning they want. And there's a hand way in the back, Bob.
Officer, if you go on the Windham Regional website, there's a section that says towns, and within that, you can go to each town that has zoning and take a look at
that just as a basis to understand what zoning does or doesn't do. It gives you a pretty good idea. There are some examples there. So that would be a suggestion that I have if you're interested in what zoning is and isn't.
Anyone else?
Miriam Sheldon-Fry, West Townsend. I also want to thank the select board for putting
We were going to get to that
call the
eventually.
meeting, and I want to ask that to hear what the warning will say.
Okay, are there any other questions before I do read the document? Yep.
Yeah, Ellen Townsend. Quick question about this Act 250. Is this a pattern? I may be stating the obvious, but when you say you're this much below the square footage, in order to sneak under that fence, so to speak, of the restrictions of Act 250, is this representing a larger pattern that lawmakers and or prosecutors, if you will, could take up? In other words, if this is a predatory pattern that's going on, which I've heard from others, and actually other people who live in other states, you know, as far away as Iowa, you know, friends are saying, dollar store came in and did it seems they can go, they find the loopholes, they go in. So it's a predatory pattern. I'm just curious to know if we are looking at any sort of recourse regarding, you know, on sort of a bigger scale to take a look at this and get it in the media and look at where there's recourse.
Well, I don't even remember which town it is, but there is one town up north that is facing exactly the same type of situation. They did have zoning, and because they had zoning, 250 does not come into play until they hit 10 acres. So that would be the same in Townsend. If we adopt zoning in Townsend, now it will become 250 on anything 10 acres or over. What is interesting with that particular one, they came in and built on a piece that was literally 9.99 acres and got away with it. They took it to the Supreme Court and they got away with it. This little parcel down here, I believe, is 8/10 of an acre. So again, it's the same thing. Normally, you cannot put a commercial establishment on that small piece of property. We still don't know how they're going to do it. Nobody's seen anything to say that, but you normally cannot get a parking lot and a commercial septic and everything else you need on that size of a lot.
0.8 acres, I believe, is about 40,000 square feet.
Act 250 has nothing to do less than, looking into anything less than an acre.
Right.
Right.
So, which, you know, that's, from that standpoint, that's just the way the law is currently written, is that 1
Been
acre.
that way for a long, long
Yeah,
time.
it has. I know, I've played that game. Okay, so if everybody's ready, I will go ahead and read the warning that we're proposing. And it says, the legal voters of the town of Townsend are hereby notified and warned to meet at the town hall in Townsend, Vermont on Thursday, July 19th, 2018 at 7 p.m. to act on the following articles, viz. Article 1. Shall the town of Townsend conduct a townwide study as to the feasibility of implementing zoning bylaws in the town of Townsend? So that will be the main question. And that, needless to say, will be an up or down vote. It'll be run just like every other town meeting with the moderator. It will, you can call for a paper ballot if you so choose. I mean, all the regular rules are going to apply.
Voter checklist.
So that's number 1. The second article is, if so, will the town approve unbudgeted funds to complete said study? Because at this point in time, we're going into a budget year where we do not have anything set aside to even begin this study. So we would need to get some kind of approval to deficit spend, if this is the will to move forward. And then Article 3 is to transact any other non-binding business to properly become before the meeting. So that's the proposed warning for this special meeting and the time frame. Any comments, questions?
Danelle Barnum, is there any way that you could phrase it commercial or residential,
No.
that you could leave that open?
No.
No, discrimination.
No, all we're
You
doing.
take up zoning as zoning.
Got it.
Anybody else, any questions or comments on the language or the whatnot?
The only thing that whatever you deficit spend is gonna have to be made up in taxes next year at town meeting.
Carrie Davidson-Berger, Townsend, Craig, you mentioned that there were grants
Oh,
possibly?
yeah, no, yes.
For that sort of thing,
Yeah,
so,
those,
like, would the board be willing to allow community members to do some research and look to see if there is any sort of
I think that
grants?
the town already has the resources to go after the grants. That would be through our Windham Regional
and it would be through the
Association.
planning commission, but zoning study grants are available through Windham Regional. They're usually in the 8 to 10,000, and that's usually enough to get this underway. If you're looking at zoning to fight a Dollar General or a Walmart, then the sky is the limit. But for basic, fundamental, produce a book like they did in 1991, 8 to 10,000 should get you there, and that's what the grants generally.
The one thing about it though is, because this will be a long-term project, it's not necessarily going to be in this next little window. We're still going to need the approval to spend the money because technically we pay these grant funds up front
Reimbursed.
and are reimbursed. We might not be reimbursed in the proper year. So therefore, we're going to be asking for permission to exceed our budget, what was allowed. Go ahead.
Hi, Laura Richardson again. Didn't you also mention volunteerism? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are concerned enough to do this. They would probably also be willing to donate some time to, you know, putting envelopes together, whatever it is that simply needs to be done that doesn't necessarily have to be paid, have someone be paid to do.
Well, I think what Craig was referring to with volunteerism was the fact that the planning commission is basically a volunteer organization, and that we're now going to potentially be asking them to put an immense amount of time into producing a document. That's their own time. So there is a lot of volunteerism that will go into just producing the document if the voters want to move forward. Anybody else, any questions? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to sign a warning as was just read.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I was gonna say, you could choose who made the motion and who seconded it.
I got it.
Is there any further discussion at the board level on the wording or the timing or anything else? So
What
this
day of
is-
the week is the 17th?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
7 o'clock.
Hearing none, all those in favor of signing the warning for a special town meeting on July 19th at 7 PM to discuss the feasibility of zoning bylaws signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes, so we will get this signed and we will get it posted. Now, the next piece that needs to be discussed is we've had a discussion about how to notify people. The law requires us to post it in the paper and to post it in our usual conspicuous places, which is the town clerk's office, the post offices, etc. We have also toyed with the idea of sending out a direct mail, as we did with the garbage, to all households, so that everybody is aware. You will actually get a piece in the mail that this is when it is. It's a reminder. July 19th, we're going to have a meeting, and if you want to say as to where we're going, that will be the time to do it. So, does that sound like a reasonable suggestion for getting the word out to people?
Yeah, that way everybody.
Everybody will get the same piece of paper, so to speak. Okay?
That town meeting's not free.
No, I know it's not free.
Time you get through all your notices and stuff, it's gonna cost you bucks.
But we're not serving dinner.
No dinner on this.
No dinner tonight.
There's no food that I'm aware of. All right, so if there's nothing else on that particular,
I don't have one, but
Didn't hear.
are you gonna make copies of the lawyers when they're available? Andy's not. Is that a decision the board wants to make?
I think we'd like to talk about it, and then we'll let you know. I've read it. I don't know if it's going to be attached to the minutes or how to actually go
Having
about
read
it.
it, I will make a Freedom of Information Act to request it, so.
Well, I was just to say whether we'll just attach it to the
Okay,
minutes or
that's fine, too.
how we'll do it. We just haven't had that discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dunham, gonna have a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I have 6 copies. This is the interim. This is available online, but anyway,
Don't you touch it?
this explains what the lawyer decided as one. There are 6 copies. The second one's preparation of bylaws. It's kind of like it could either go.
Well, it's gonna take that, go ahead. Craig. I'm sorry? We're gonna make a motion to take a 5-minute recess while things quiet down. I made it.
I second.
We're taking a 5-minute recess. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting back to order. The one thing we did have was a piece of correspondence from Roger Jasaitis, and it basically was in support of having the discussion about zoning bylaws. I'll be happy to read it, but I think we've already addressed his concerns by moving forward with the warning to have that discussion in public, so. Where are we going here? Let's see. So the next thing on there is the paving grant applications. Yeah.
Is the public participation section available?
Did you have something in addition?
Oh, nothing to do with zoning, I already stepped in that.
I was gonna say, if the members of the public, yes, we can go ahead and if there's something else other than the zoning piece, yes,
absolutely.
certainly.
My name's Wayne Esty. I'm a Democratic candidate for Vermont State Senate, and I'm here to introduce myself. Wrote something so that you can, I could give you 2 copies, one to lose, one to throw away.
Canvassing inside of town hall during a select
There you
board
go.
meeting. Isn't what you do. All right.
I've never done this.
Good for you.
I've never done this before. I never ran for public office. I moved to Vermont in 2011, and people said, well, why do you like it there so much? How do you explain a meeting like this to someone who's
Oh, I
never
can
been to it?
explain it very easily.
You hear
You
it?
don't want the language
Well,
stuff.
it might not be publishable, but this is what, where I come from, politics, decision maker was none of the people's business. And the decisions were handed out a little whole. That's why I like Vermont, that's why I'm here. And I'm not satisfied with what I'm seeing happening to rural Vermont. Townsend is kind of halfway between rural Vermont and Montpelier, not just geographically. You got a thriving little town here. Bellows Falls used to be a thriving little town. It is, the only thing missing in Bellows Falls now is Trinity. And it's a sad thing. And I don't think I think I could do a better job in the Senate bringing home the bacon. Where if I was talking about that, or bringing home the tofu bacon. We don't get our share. And I don't think they have any clue what it's like to live outside of Montpelier and Burlington. I met the Commissioner of Economic Development up there, and he didn't know that we still use pagers in Dover. Their roads are perfect. Their trees are trimmed at the side of the road. They have curb crossings. They have 5,000 of the 8,000 state employees. Windham County has 236. I understand the salt for the roads is not available unless the state guy is working here. Why can't there be a state guy working there in the middle of the winter when you need salt for the thing? You don't have to wait to go get it. They passed a nice law called Clean Water Act, Act 64. I mean, who doesn't like clean water? Apple pie, mom. Problem is, road crews gotta go and put culverts at the side of every mud hole And when that trap rock gets full, they've got to dig it out, wash it off and put it back. In Halifax, they did a fraction of what they needed to do according to the Clean Water Act, and it was 6% of their budget. They just do not have enough money in Halifax to comply with the Clean Water Act. They want to go on tape, but they have another plan in order to not spend money.
Good for them.
Those kind of rules made up in Montpelier have not taken into account the things that are in towns like this one, and I would intend to make sure they're taken into account. I'm not looking to be the replacement for Pat Leahy or the governor in a couple of years as I've had my career. I'm not looking to vote the party line. I vote only for things that help Windham County. I will vote against things that don't help Windham County. If they happen to advance Vermont as a whole, well, that's good, but the first criteria is that they make Windham County better. That's pretty selfish, and that's why I want to get elected.
Okay, well, I do thank you for sharing that with us, and it's nice to know the political season's ramping itself up again. Here we go again, huh? All right, so the next thing on the agenda then is the grant application for the paving, I believe.
Two paving bids were returned.
So the question becomes, would you like to do the bids first, or would you like to, do you want to go ahead and take care of the grant?
I just want to make sure that we sign off on the grant before you award a bid.
All right, well,
So, I mean,
really-
we need to make sure that we're gonna get the funding available.
I believe the funding on this is a 20% match?
It is 20% match.
It's a 20% match, and
There's a
the
spreadsheet.
amount is $175,000
That's a maximum.
on the pavement, and we have to match 20% of that. So I'll entertain a motion to sign the grant application for paving.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of signing the grant application for paving, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. So we'll get this signed. I can even remember how to sign my name. And, today's the 12th. Okay, so there's that. I'm gonna make you a done pile,
Okay.
so we don't lose something in the transaction. So the next thing that we have on the agenda is the paving project, and that's going to be the bids, which are, that's not them, that's this one, that's this group. Do we have a letter up there somewhere?
Sorry. Right.
Have you talked to anybody else besides these two?
We put it out for three. Three and show. We got no
Lane.
Lane and show.
Lyndon Show.
So this is from Basin Brothers? And this is for price per ton is $63.90 with a 1/2 inch shim and 1/4 inch overlay. Grafton Road to Acton Hill. Grafton Road from Acton Hill to Route 35. Includes traffic control, sweeping, end joints, etc.
Bid should be priced per ton in place, supervised by the foreman, so $63.90.
$63.90. The next one is Springfield Paving. Yeah. Oh, man.
I think you got more than just the envelope.
If all else fails. fingernails are
It's like Christmas.
Risk of paper cut.
All right, Springfield. Installation of asphalt pavement, price per ton in place is $64.44. Please note the asphalt pricing is based on current V-Trans liquid asphalt index of $507, whatever that means. And may be adjusted to index at the time of pavement, whatever that means.
Liquid asphalt that they use to mix.
Okay, well, that's, we know it wasn't a caveat on the other one, but. So we have $64.44 from Springfield, and we have $63.90 from Basin.
Now, what they're not, they're
Same-
not.
same thickness.
What do we got going on here?
Okay, they're not-
Doesn't say
they're not-
anything
they're
about
not-
shim, doesn't say anything about overlay.
Not on this one.
The
Doesn't
specs are all
say
the same.
anything about traffic control, emulsion tack, coating included, compact testing by an independent firm, sweeping, end joints milled.
They didn't say any of
None of
that.
that.
No.
Now, is we supposed to just assume that they're gonna do all the same?
Yeah, they've been doing it so many years. For the town.
What's that?
Been paying RFP for the town for years, and that's what they do.
You have an RFP and an explanation, two different things.
Well, and what they're not doing is they're not bidding from point A to point B. They're bidding price per ton in place. If you guys set an upper limit, then they will pay as much as they can at $63 or $64 per.
Which is what they did last year.
Which is what they did last, right, but I mean, we're not saying we have X number of dollars to spend, how far can you go? Because that
Right.
hasn't worked in the past kind of thing.
Exactly.
So this is 63 and 63.90 and 64.44.
Okay. Anybody?
Now, when the Acton Hill Road apron discussed, are we talking, I mean, there's just one entrance basically in that area besides the pull-off. Are they gonna do something for the pull-off too, or is it just gonna jump up?
Just the apron that goes up Acton Hill.
No, does that say anything about the apron?
We basically do whatever Mark, will go out, Kurt, will go out, paint the lines where, if they want an apron, it's kind of typically how we do it.
But you don't have any pull-offs that are paved anyway up there.
No,
That's what you just said.
no, just the apron up Acton Hill. Just the apron up Acton Hill, that's it.
That's just one driveway from something, talk about.
Steve, you want to say anything?
Please. Thank you.
Actually, there's two.
The solid handles? I mean, do we have one? I'm sorry. We don't have one. Is there one? Anybody?
Actually, there's two. We'll go with one.
One way in, one way out.
So I guess one question that I would have is if we asked, if we
Oh,
did a
that's
request for
good.
proposals and now we have two different bids, excuse me. Now we have two different bids coming in. Are they bidding on exactly the same project?
Exactly the same.
There was a meeting was it last Friday? A week ago Friday?
Last Friday.
Last Friday, for contractors to review the project with the road crew, or with Kurt.
That's what she was talking about.
They measured it.
Actually, it was mandatory to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we've done by measurement before, and we've mismeasured. I mean, things have happened in the past, so this was, and given the size, the largesse of this project, it made sense just to have you guys take a look at it. and
No, it's good way to go.
See what you're getting into.
September 1st completion, Basin Brothers.
I didn't see a completion date on that.
It might be another place, so, let's see. Estimated date of completion, details and dates to be worked out, okay, with Clerk Rostrum. That's what this one says.
September 1. Completion for Basin Brothers.
Yeah, like I said, and this one, it just has to be worked out, the details, sometime during this season, huh? So.
For the other terms.
Anybody wanna step up to the plate here, rather than leave me with paper sitting in my hands?
I would move to accept the bid with Basin Brothers for the paving from, is it Grafton Road? From Grafton to
From Grafton,
35.
right, to 35. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
Do you wanna do not exceed?
Yes.
Okay.
Did I what?
Let's work, do not exceed, do you wanna work
Oh.
that into the motion before you?
Absolutely,
Alright, okay. I'm just saying.
but we have to figure out what that was. That is,
Kurt had originally asked for 235.
is that what it was, it's 235?
That's what yeah, that was bigger and heavy tonnage, so I don't think it's gonna.
That's far more than a 20% match.
This particular project that occurred, it's quite a bit less than, I think you're only, did he put the estimated tonnage on there?
No,
Estimated.
I don't see any
Can't remember what it was.
percentage at all.
It was only like 104.
The grant's for 175.
Right, and then there was our match, so not to exceed.
175 and 35.
I can't.
I must have messed up on my bad.
Yeah.
Would be 210.
210.
I think you want to keep it at 220 or less, something like that. I mean, we did put money.
We did put a little out there, right.
80 at some budget.
That the grant and the money we set up for paving that equals 175 for both of them?
Yeah, instant 3/4.
Was
Instant 3/4.
So not to exceed 210, is that where we are?
Yes, 210.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that?
you might work on that.
Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding the contract to Basin Brothers signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you all. I will clip these all back together
We'll get a contract worked out.
so that everything stays together. So there's that pile. That goes under there. I'm gonna run out of something now, and now we get to play with the gravel.
I'll know what I Springfield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we get to play gravel crushing.
You should have 3.
I have to find it not working thing again. So this first one is from Chavez. Chaves, is it Chaves? I'm from the Southwest. That is Chavez. Sorry.
That's from David.
Okay, it's from David.
Okay.
I think I should leave. I can't even get an onboard.
Second.
You're not nice.
Any discussion?
I'm gonna take my box and go home. All right.
No, these should be per yard because we did set a figure not to exceed. And-
Yeah, this not to exceed in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so David here is saying 575 a yard for approximately 10,500 yards for a total of 60,000. Have the work done by the first week of September. I'll keep the certificate of liability with it. Keep it together.
And that's gonna be for 300 cubic yards of 5 to 8 inch ditch stone and the remainder in 1 inch minus gravel.
Here we go again. This one is from Basin. And this is 525 per cubic yard at 11,428 yards for a total of $59,997.
Underbid. Fitzpatrick.
Yep, this one's from Fitzpatrick. And this is $450 per yard, completion date 2 to 3 weeks with the start date in July. Doesn't tell me how much he's gonna be able to do though. So we have to do the math. So it's $450 a yard.
It's gonna be a lot more than 11,000. Yeah. Yeah, the specs were, as I say, 300 cubic yards of 5 to 8, with the remainder of 1 inch ones.
And that might, that would be quick, it's been in the 10 years. You can crush the top.
Yeah, no, they all make actually.
Yeah. Mike has never crushed.
Spent 40 minutes in here this morning. Spent 40 minutes in here this morning. And he gets up. They've all worked here for Townshend before. Of that amount, we have 25 in reserve from last year to save, and we're raising 35. Okay. Just so, okay.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody have a recommendation?
Do you have anything to say about it? Sure.
I'm sure Fitzpatrick will be fine. I've never worked with them crushing before.
I make a motion to accept Fitzpatrick's bid of $4.50 per yard, crushed on the amount that we're asking to be crushed.
For up to 6,000, not to exceed 6,000, 60,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting Fitzpatrick Excavating's bid to crush gravel at $4.50 per yard to begin sometime in July, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
So, there we go with that. And now the other one is the roadside mowing. Did
Yep, and I did not get one from the gentleman who mowed last year. Didn't want to talk to him. He was supposedly going to drop a bid off today before 4 o'clock. We did 2 weeks ago get one unsolicited from Mr. Walker.
So what's your pleasure? Do you want to just pass over that? Or do you want to, what would you like to do with the roadside mowing?
Should we table it until we
Do you have one
see if we can get another
We
bid?
have one
We
quote.
have one quote.
One unsolicited quote, yes.
Yep. Table it.
I would table it.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
move to table it until we can get further bids.
All right, and if you could see if you could get in touch with him and try to push something out.
Yeah.
So we're ready for the warrants then, please?
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 1 payroll in the amount of $8,819.94.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those,
I was wondering, we drive around a lot looking at the roads.
Yes.
Is it needed?
Do I need to? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
anything else?
Nope.
Do you have a schedule that you follow for that? Like, do you do it
I try to do it.
like Monday, Friday, or
I try to
something?
do it Monday or after big wind or after big rain. I try to take a different route. Sometimes, it can be weeks before I'm
Before you put another route.
Right.
All right, so any further discussion on that? Hearing none, then all those in favor of paying payroll warrant number 1 in the amount of $8,819.94, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion asking Kurt and the crew to only go out and assess, drive the roads, checking for problems after we have a a storm event or something of that nature that warrants going out and driving the roads aimlessly looking for a problem. So meaning if we get a 2 or 3 inch rainstorm, I totally understand, but a half an inch of rain doesn't really constitute checking the roads. You know, high winds, I mean, we could definitely save a lot of money as a town by having you guys do work rather than drive around with the vehicles. And on top of it, please, citizens of the town, call if there is a problem. Don't expect somebody to come out to the road to view it for themselves and decipher the problem. Call down.
Call them.
Call down to you. Town, Craig, anybody. Maybe not Craig, but you.
So,
I will let you answer, machine.
so is there
And
some,
you also, you say, no, I'm not gonna argue this point, I've argued with it many times, Rob. Like on Grafton Road, there was a tree down over the weekend. If I didn't cruise the road, the tree was right there, sticking in the road and stuff. How do we know, and there wasn't a 2 or 1 or 2 or 3 inch storm, how do we know? How do we know?
Kurt,
I can show you books, I can show you books from Jamaica.
For 4 years, we have paid you guys multiple times during the week to drive around and look at stuff.
We just don't aimlessly do it unless there's a reason.
Kurt, I live in the town, work in the town with my eyes open.
You know, I know.
And it's, you know.
Why don't you tell me about that branch up on Grafton Road? I wouldn't have known if I didn't check the roads that day. After the storm, and it wasn't a big storm. It was a big branch that came out of the woods, out of our right of way, fell down across the road. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do about it. How do you want me to do it? How do you want me to check roads? How do you want me to check roads that need to be graded?
$70
How do you want me to set
for
work
3
up?
hours worth of work to move 1 stick out of the road.
No, but that's one road. So if one tree fell down, how do you know when it affect different areas different ways?
So it's just cheap driving around.
Okay.
is there a second to that motion?
Not yet. Second.
Okay, now can we have any discussion?
And I don't need this. I really don't. A culvert up by Holt's. I had no intention of replacing that culvert. And I found a hole in the culvert checking roads Monday.
I'm sure you can find a million different scenarios of where it has come in
And that's what we do.
beneficial,
We
but
do
I'm
find
saying that
different
there's a
scenarios
lot
when
of
we go out.
times that there's no benefit to what you're doing with the driving around. As where people, if they see a problem, there's a massive hole in the road, they're gonna call you. If there's a tree across the road, they're gonna call you. Same way they do on the weekends when you're not there and you get a call out.
Well, my case in point was, there was a weekend. I did get a call, and it was on a main class 2 road.
Okay.
So,
So were you driving around on your own time or were you driving
it was
around?
Monday morning when I went to go do the route.
Oh.
And it wasn't a big storm.
Well, we could talk about it. Do you want another motion to be only once a week barring weather events? Or do you want it to be?
It is essentially only once a week. If the weather's good. And not every time we go out after a small rainstorm, by any means.
Oh, I'm not saying that you go after every small rainstorm. I'm saying that if we will go through our hours, we pay you multiple times,
Yeah,
all
yes,
3
sir.
guys, multiple times in a week to drive around and look for a problem on the road. And what I'm saying to you is that usually if there's a problem on the road, you'll be notified by somebody. You know?
I say
And what I'm saying too is by the time you go through the whole entire calendar year and look at sending you guys 3 people with 3 big trucks out on the road to flick a stick out of the ground or off the road, it accumulates to a lot of money.
I agree with you.
And when
But
your
it's not
back,
like
and
a
when your
lawn.
back
You
is
know-
against the wall and you have a ton of stuff to do,
You know, a
you're
lawn
wasting your
You
time.
go over lawn. You know, you got the trees, you go there to cut trees. This is a whole area, it encompasses a whole town that we have to take care of. That we have to check, that we have to make sure everything is good. That's our job. We are caretakers of the town. Try to do a good job.
I'm not saying you're not trying to do a good job.
I don't know how you want me to know what is wrong out there without somebody being out there. If we're gonna go work in West Townsend, so we're gonna go to West Townsend. And none of the other town has even addressed any problems at all, if there are any problems, if anything crops up. How do I know Deer Valley's not all chewed up?
Okay, let me put it like this.
Where's Wall Hill got?
You work an 8-hour day.
There
You
was a
start at
moving
6
truck,
o'clock,
there was a
you end
moving
at
truck up
2:30.
Woods Wall Hill this past weekend, tore the road all up. It was a tractor trailer. We didn't know about it. Nobody called us. The road was terrible. But we went and checked roads Monday, we found the problem, we took care of it.
Mike,
Why don't
did-
we just go to a vote? Or-
Mike,
I have a question, it's not directly into this, but it is part of it. If there's all this traveling around checking out what's going on the road, why do we still have so many dead trees in the road right of way that are not anywhere near power lines?
I agree with you, we do. We do. And after I will start taking care of the trees like I did last year for a week. I don't have time to do everything. Like,
And this is getting back to, you don't have time to do everything, but what my point is that being productive in the time that you're working for us would be to our best benefit as a town.
okay, I understand what you're saying, but someone still has to cruise to town once a week at least, I would say. No?
I mean, I'm looking at the numbers and I don't know. I can't say, I mean, I'm only 20% of the board here, so we're gonna put it to a vote and we'll figure it out from there.
I was gonna say, anybody else have any comments?
One comment that I would make that bothers me personally is twice, I would say in the last 2 months, the town garage has been totally unmanned on a weekday. One was to go to an equipment show.
Yes.
And one was, I think you all had something to do. I think that's totally wrong. You're concerned about roads and trees falling, yet to leave the garage unattended during a weekday, I think is a big mistake.
And what's the difference between a weekday or a weekend, or a long weekend?
It's a weekday. You can justify not having somebody on the road on a Sunday or a Saturday, but it's a little bit harder to do it Monday through Friday when it's a normal workday for normal people.
Okay, anybody else? Any other discussion? No? Hearing none, then I don't even remember what the motion was.
The motion is to have the road crew check the roads only after storms, other incidents, or complaints are received. Seconded by.
Okay. Any further discussion then? All those in favor of instructing the road crew to do as Craig just read, because I don't remember what it was, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Check the roads once a week. Opposed? Abstentions? You didn't abstain from that. You're going to abstain from that, and you 3 voted yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 2, payroll taxes in the amount of $3,341.87.
Yes, we make that.
Second.
What's that?
I gotta get
You
a
just
copy of that, so I
asked
have
a
it.
copy of the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll tax warrant number 2 in the amount of $3,341.87, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 3, general fund in the amount of $2,196.83.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 3 in the amount of $2,196.83, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 4 out of the general fund in the amount of $556,754.
Second.
Any discussion?
Schools, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 4 in the amount of $556,754, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
That is down a little bit too from.
Well,
The
that's
last-
a heck of a
I feel so much
discount.
No, that's about 30,000 less than that. Yeah.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 5 out of the general fund in the amount of $12,396.69.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
The Stone Arch Bridge study, that was something we talked about last year, right?
Yes.
Okay. It didn't ring a bell.
Yeah, well, we're not done talking about it, that was gonna come back, but for right now, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 5 in the amount of $12,396.69, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 6 out of the equipment fund, the amount of $2,088.42.
Second.
Any discussion?
What's that for?
It's for arrows, fisher,
Diesel and
inspections.
then compactor fittings on there too, right?
Well, there's a
Supplies
bunch
and
of
parts for the backhoe, for
yeah.
the, it's mostly
Backhoe,
parts and
loader,
diesel.
so a few other things at more tracks, Franklin Auto Parts, inspection sticker, and diesel.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying equipment warrant number 6 in the amount of $2,088.42 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 7, general fund, in the amount of $1,163.91.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 7 in the amount of $1,163.91 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 8 out of the general fund in the amount of $112.05.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 8 in the amount of $112.05 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 9 out of the highway fund, the amount of $283.52.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of paying highway warrant number 9 in the amount of $283.52 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 10, payroll, in the amount of $10,007.72.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I have one, and unfortunately, Kurt, I apologize, but I'm gonna pick on you again. You went to one of the accident scenes or one of the fire calls,
Yeah.
and you put it on the time card.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have a discussion about that from the personnel policy standpoint, because that is not included in, any type of employment piece as to whether or not you would be paid. And the question comes up, for example, if Ed, who lives in Cambridgeport, was part of the volunteer fire department, would we pay him to go to be support for Cambridgeport Fire? So I think it's something that we need to have a discussion about at some point in time,
Right.
whether that should be on the clock or whether, because it's just a question. It's not been addressed, and you just recently joined, so it's never really come up before.
It is volunteer.
So, other than that, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll warrant number 10 in the amount of $10,007.72 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to pay check warrant number 11, payroll taxes, in the amount of $3,615.23.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll tax warrant number 11 in the amount of $3,615.23 signify by saying aye. I'm
Aye.
using the last one, the one I muck up on. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. All right. So all the warrants made it through tonight. That's nice. Okay, now for the highway. You and Steve were going to get together to have a discussion about making a decision on the loaders, the 3 loaders we received the bids on. Do you have a recommendation, someone?
Yes. We both agree that we recommend to enter into an agreement with Nortrax on the 2018 John Deere 524K.
And that was how much?
That was $136,900 less the trade of the 544 at $42,000 for a net of $94,900.
94.9. Is that a motion, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that?
You like that, huh?
Okay.
Now, does that have the 18-point seat and the 7-disc CD player? No.
All right. If there's no further discussion on it, then both speakers?
Do I understand that they probably won't have that available until September or something like
Yeah,
that?
probably 90 days, yeah.
Okay, is there, I don't remember the paperwork, was there a deposit on that? I'd like to get it into this year, so we're gonna have to hold it over.
Yep.
Hold
Right.
over the money for this fiscal year.
We will have to hold it over anyway.
That's probably true.
You're gonna have to reserve the bulk of it, so you might as well reserve it.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor of purchasing the John Deere as quoted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Okay, so we'll get that in the works.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
The other thing we asked you for was your vacation schedule. Did we get a copy of the,
Yeah, I forgot.
you forgot it. Can you make sure you get that to Craig
I'm getting to Craig tomorrow.
so that we're
I did
aware?
Right after that, it's been like 3 weeks since we had a meeting. I wrote it down and it's in the shop.
The one thing
On
that,
vacation.
the one
You've been
thing
on
that
vacation.
we do have to pay attention to is we've got multiple grants to close out for the highway department. And most of the deadlines are coming up on the 1st of July. Can we make sure that whatever the vacation schedule is, that you're available to help Craig with any of the paperwork he might need to do those closeouts? The network inventory, I believe, and some of the other stuff.
The bridge, too. The bridge.
The
Or is
bridge,
that done already?
I don't know, the bridge, have you done the bridge?
The bridge is in the works.
Okay, so yeah, that'll become pretty important then, as far as scheduling some of the grant closeout stuff. All right, so did you have a report for us now that we're done with our end of it?
Not really. T1 is in the shop, it's getting an ECM engine control module, it's been getting in trouble. We can't work on that, so it's in the shop. It's gonna get reprogrammed. The rubbish truck broke down outside here Monday. And
Is that what the?
Yes.
Okay.
Power steering. Power steering. And then tonight, Arnold called me, I put my work clothes back on, and I went and worked on the rubbish truck, and I have 2 hoses broke on it now. Not the power steering, but on the compactor. So
Hydraulic problems.
hydraulic. And we'll fix that tomorrow, we'll be ready for Thursday, hopefully. I'd like to order some more culverts, I'd like to order culverts. I know they'll put it on in July. Is that all right if I order a dozen culverts?
Well,
2,000?
can you tell me whether or not the governor's gonna actually sign the
Yes,
the
it's gonna
law
be
for the
budget.
schools? Or sign up on the bill for the schools for the funding for this year? Because until they do that, we won't get the school numbers to be able to send out tax bills. So if you order culverts and I haven't sent out tax bills, then we have a problem?
Can I have them billed for August?
Maybe.
Fingers crossed.
90 days taken.
And the grader is down right now too. I have the steering pulled apart on that. Hopefully I'll get that fixed tomorrow or Thursday. Because I gotta get the rubbish truck. The grader is very important this time of year, but the rubbish truck is. He
Don't want to be able to not drive that
He
somewhere.
turned away people tonight, so I know they're gonna have rubbish for Thursday, so.
You turned them away because you couldn't compact?
And the oil lines run up through the roof in the tunnel, and they're metal lines, so we're gonna have to re-engineer something.
That'd be fun.
Oh, they run up through the, like the food chase thing?
Think about the juice would be in that little chase if it was on the bottom.
That would be
They just
fun.
found that.
Be cool.
Any questions?
That's all I got. We've been busy putting some culverts.
Paul Kurtz here. Is there any way you can cut that brush, crossing Carol Relis's along that fence? You can't come down through there with a truck and meet another truck, but it hits your mirrors. And not only that, the water run out all spring. Cause there's a stone wall back in there. And
Wait a second, which side of the road are you talking?
on the right hand side.
At Nellis's.
It used to be Macintosh's. And we had that cleaned out when they paved it. You turned that around and put gravel right back in the drainage ditch. Now that should be cleaned out between the stone wall and the blacktop. That was blacktop underneath it for drainage.
Water ran out of this.
I do, cause I had Chad and them went up there and they had Bo and I believe it was Ed clean that all out, and then later on, when you was on,
That's across from Carol Nelson's,
yeah, across the road.
right by that little fence in the stone wall.
Yeah, that white fence and all that brush sticking out there. Catch on the goddamn mirrors on a truck coming down through there. Then right to the bottom, if you take a small 1/4 inch iron rod or anything, you can feel that stone wall. The stone wall's up about that high, but you've got gravel right from there, right down to the edge of the blacktop. The water of the spring run right down the road there, all along. Because that's supposed to be the drainage ditch that lets it come down through there. It is now, you got water running right out into the road.
Okay, any other questions for?
Yeah, cold patch on Grafton Road.
Yeah,
We saw that you guys made it all the way up to the pull-off,
I gotta get more coal patch. That was a whole.
so you ran out of it.
It was a whole load.
Yeah, right. Because that would probably be a pretty good idea.
Anything else? Anybody?
Did they get a permit to dig across the back Windham Road?
Yeah.
It's a little
How far
softer
out of the
than
center of
over
that
there.
road is that well?
How far out of the center of the road? It's right against the bank.
Might be, but I still think it's in town right away unless they got a permit.
Think it's in the town right away on that road?
Sure, all your roads have got a town right away.
What are we talking about, or what are we talking about?
Probably 3 feet?
No,
I mean, not 3.
Who did what?
3 rods, I should say.
Tom's
Talking about somebody
all
dug
roads
into
are
the back Windham Road.
Not all
Yeah,
roads.
the lawyers.
Well, that back road is.
Okay.
She
Full whole thing?
dug a well across
Well,
the,
dug
a well.
dug a well across the way.
There's a book right
They ran
there.
pipes under the
Get the
road.
whole story, you don't think we look it
I've
up?
been in that boat, but I don't remember what that.
I mean, they know what I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
3 rods. I'm not complaining where it is, but if you get a complaint because it got salt or some damn thing in it,
That's already been discussed. Already told her about it.
no, I just was curious, because I see they
Should be a sealed well.
dug the road up.
Yeah, they're gonna pave it. I told them to leave it open for a little bit so it gets impacted back.
So and so.
You see, we went through that on
Guys are
that
not good about
Stone Axe Bridge. The historic guy came down, oh, Christ, it was probably 20 years ago now or more, 25. And we asked him what he could do, and he said there wasn't much he could do with it. The only thing he said you could do, if it come worse to worse, is you could put a cement pad on top of the travel surface. But then, of course, your rails and stuff will all be in trouble.
Well, I had a guy come from the state and then Mike Renault, because the woman asked me if I'd have the bridge checked out. So I've been underneath it and it doesn't look like it's doing anything to me, and I have put some stone on the sides there and
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
And Mike Renault says, the only thing I would do is knock those sides off and put another bridge right on top of it, then you can keep that bridge right
Yeah,
there.
well, that's what that guy was telling us.
But the
You
sides-
can lay it with
sides-
the cement pad right on it.
The sides would come off, put a bridge right on top.
But you gotta get those historic before you can do anything.
Oh, yeah, so.
That's coming up next meeting.
Okay, so,
Yep. No,
any other questions for Kurt?
Did you guys end up using the loaders at all that they brought?
Yes.
I would have thought you guys would have burned the paint right off of those things, moved the
We
whole
didn't have.
gravel pit around.
We did, we'll bring about the gravel and do things, find a hill, pile and stuff like that. We didn't have a lot of time, we had.
Yeah, but you
Didn't
can
drive around the roads to turn the loaders, you know what I'm saying?
That's what
You
I
could have
just
done a
thought.
loader, right?
Couldn't use the loaders to check.
Yeah, there you go.
I wish I thought of that.
Anyway, anything else? All right then, you should have all gotten a counter money sheet from the town clerk. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. And the treasurer?
In your sweep account, you have $1,173,172.97. And the checking account is $29,946.44.
Okay, not anymore, or as of tomorrow. $500,000 to the schools. Any questions for the treasurer?
The tax system, we all can pretty much everybody?
Yeah, I guess you're gonna close the book.
But not unusually high for this year,
No,
for delinquent.
I think it's better this year than it has been.
Okay, yeah, good.
Because C and D somebody, and all them, when people paid, that took it way down.
Okay.
Okay, so there was no other correspondence. Under old business, the budget status report, we did not get to that tonight. He didn't get a chance to get that printed out. We will be looking at it next time because it will essentially be the end of the, more or less the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So see where we are on all the different accounts. Under new business, we have, at the request of the listers, we do have a contract to do their are they digital, their GPS, what are they, Mike? The signs,
The maps,
the maps.
GIS, yeah.
they're digital and PDF copies.
But
Printed.
they're,
What's the method of making them?
They have their own.
the
software.
GIS.
The GIS, okay.
So we have a contract here from Cartographic Technologies out of somewhere. Putney, okay. To do new maps for the town, which everybody that works here will agree have to be done. What we have now is not serviceable. The total cost to do this mapping is $7,348. Half upon delivery of the draft tax maps and half upon delivery of all the assorted projects, being the PDF and the finalized maps, etc. What else I got here? Typical termination type stuff. So if you have questions, now's the time to ask them because the listers might can answer any questions you might have about the maps.
What's the time frame?
They've got a rough draft in place.
Yeah, she's already started at least looking
Yeah.
at it anyway.
Yeah.
So this summer, you think?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Is there money in the budget to pay for this?
Yeah,
We did not budget this specifically. This money will be coming out of their reappraisal fund. This is one of the items that can be paid for out of the reappraisal fund. And I believe they have,
Sufficient.
well, they have sufficient, they have quite a bit of money in their reappraisal fund at the moment. It says in a separate CD.
120-ish. It's in a CD, but it rolls over every year, so we'll reimburse ourselves at some point.
So I would entertain a motion to enter into this contract with Cartographic Technologies of Putney for an amount, to do new maps for an amount of $7,348.
So moved.
Is there any further discussion on that?
Did we get prices from anybody else? Just out of curiosity. Do we get bids for this from anyone else?
No, this is the company that the state recommended.
They
The
recommend.
department, the motor vehicle department commissioned them
Oh, okay.
and covered the original, everything on it.
Oh, okay.
So, and we've seen the work that they've done for Dummerston, really impressed with it.
Okay.
And it seems to be the right one to go with.
Who did the maps last time they did the maps?
Dashi, and this is a little more than half that price. but-
It costs a lot more than this.
Yeah.
We don't use them, we still use the 1977 map that Darcy himself did. Anita can't use the new ones either. We need something.
Now, do they come on the same white paper that the ones that are in there are on?
They're actually colored, aren't they? Are they
The
colored?
new ones-
Yeah. And software available, you said PDF as well, so.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of entering into a contract with Cartographic Technologies of Putney signify by saying aye.
Alright.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And those are changeable, aren't they? I mean, once you have them on computer, you can move lines I mean, if a property subdivides or something, they would do that for you?
No, we get once a year with information that comes from the Lister's office.
So there would be, following this, there would be a contract with them for regular updating and service work?
Oh, yeah. Great, I'm going. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Okay, so that's done. Your pile's getting big over here, you're gonna have to come get it. And we received from the Lister's office a memo, and it says, the Townshend Board of Listers respectfully requests the Select Board recognize and appoint Helen Holt as their assistant. Helen has been an enormous help this year and is learning amazingly fast on our requirements and responsibilities. Helen has also, at her personal expense, attended all seminars available to her. Some copies of the certificates are enclosed. Dick has confirmed that he will not seek re-election this coming town meeting, and we feel Helen will have a better chance of being elected if she is recognized now. She is very knowledgeable and a pleasure to work with, and has well proved her worth to our office, and is signed by all of the listers. Did you write that down?
Me? I don't know how to spell it.
So basically, what's being asked here is we have a 3-man office in the office of the listers, and they're asking, since Dick is not going to be re-upping when his term expires in March, that Ms. Holt be allowed to come in as an assistant in the office to both not only learn what goes on in there, but to be in position to be able to step into that seat come March. Is that about what it amounts to? Mm-hmm. Are there any questions, or would someone like to make?
Now, will you be replacing Jean too at the same time?
No, but there's no need to, right?
I just wasn't sure.
Might I suggest as a point of order that you authorize the listers to hire her as an assistant, as opposed to appoint?
Well,
and there is no guarantee of that.
They don't think they can hire her. I think we have to hire her.
Okay.
So.
Yeah,
Authorize the employment of them.
yeah, I mean, that brings up the question, what's the pay rate?
It'd be
Casual labor.
Casual labor rate, right.
And what account will we charge it to?
Yeah. It's gonna end up being to the wages of the listers.
But she's not a lister.
Well, but that's the only wage line we have.
There really isn't a contractual line that has sufficient.
So are you adding staff in the interim, and then when, who's not running again? Mr.
Lucier, yes.
Yeah, but there's no real quid pro quo there. I mean, it would be
No,
nice
my
to
question
have
is,
somebody.
are we adding staff on payroll for 9 months until March when he steps down?
I don't know how to answer this without stepping in it.
Let me start. Okay. Come up closer so you can hear. Yep. Okay, I just have a couple questions. Yep. We have 3 listers in the lister's office. We, of course, look at payroll every pay period. Yep. I know how many hours you work. I know how many Dick works. And I know how many Jean works. My question to you is, if you all 3 work the same hours, would you need an assistant?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question. We do need Helen's professionalism, and we don't all work the same hours, as you are aware.
Very well aware.
Well, that was my answer. What more? What else are you asking?
So what would her role be? What would her responsibilities be?
Filling in for when we need help. Quite honestly, had it not been for Helen's assistance this year, we would not have the abstract of the grand list this soon. We've got to do the grand list still. She's been invaluable to us. She's taking all the courses that are available on her own dime, the travel and the expenses of staying over and whatnot. She's very knowledgeable. And take into consideration how difficult it is to get anyone to get onto any of these boards, especially the listers. She's ready and she can hit the ground running.
And I think the one thing we did look up when you brought this and handed it to me and asked that it be put on the agenda, we did look at the expenditures this year in wages. And we should be able to.
There's no
to do
question
it.
we can absorb it. Now, the problem would be is if the day that we bring her on, that the other two decide to come to work every day, then that would be a problem. But if it stays the way it is,
Yeah.
if it stays the way it is, we can absorb it.
We'll make it work.
My other concern is I'm a little wary of hiring someone to what sounds like we're having them do an elected official's job. I just want to make sure that the role is clear that that's not what we're doing.
Well, at this point, unless someone resigns, and Dick has offered to, and I really don't want him to resign, he's a wealth of information, a lot of help. This will be an assistant's position, and if it comes to the point that everybody's working full-time, the assistant won't have a lot to do. We can see to that. And you were talking just a little bit about the budget. As of yesterday, we've only used up 61% of our budget. We're really pretty cautious of what we spend on. And we've got 2.5 weeks to go to finish up that other.
Right. Yeah, I agree with Steve. There's no question that we can absorb it as currently handled, but the concern is everyone decides to all of a sudden work full-time.
So what's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion to hire Helen Holt as an assistant to the listers until the next town meeting
At casual labor.
at the casual labor rate.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of hiring Helen Holt as a lister's assistant at the casual labor rate until next town meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right,
You're on the train now.
there you go.
You can't hold this against us.
Yeah.
That would be the next regularly scheduled March town meeting.
No, that's true, yes, the
Yeah.
next regular
No,
scheduled month,
yeah.
yes, you're absolutely correct. Yes.
Next town meeting in March.
Okay, so then the next item on the agenda is the Dunham letter. Did something go out from the health officer?
And I did not talk to the health officer with regard to any action that might have, any communications that he might have had with her. I don't even know if she's there, but nothing has happened on the property. So we're still kind of in limbo.
Well, I think that we need to engage the health officer to find out what his recommendation is with that
And be
particular.
prepared on the 20, whatever it is, 6th, to put on Board of Health hats and do something if necessary.
All right, Johnson property update.
Back to the
I'm
Dunham,
sorry.
sorry. Is there a way to speed this up? I mean, we've been dragging feet now. We've sent the letter out over a month ago, hasn't it, Ben?
With regard to
A
Dunham?
month ago for the 5th or 6th time.
With regard to Dunham?
Well,
Are we
I just
back on?
think that if you-
Yeah, we went backwards.
Okay, well,
If you
before
lived on either side of that, I think that you'd want to see that cleaned up.
I don't
sooner
disagree,
rather
it's
than
not up to
later.
me, I sent a letter out, I told her it needed to be cleaned up by the 22nd. It wasn't, Crystal had indicated that she had mentioned it to Tim Schaefer, I copied the letter to Tim, I hadn't heard from him. He was appointed as the health officer for another 5 years, so I had the certificate here, which is a good thing, but I've not talked to him about it, so I
Well,
haven't.
maybe he should put hot
I
foot
haven't
his
heard.
way up there and take a look, seeing as it's a half a mile up the road.
I mean, I was hoping we'd hear before tonight, but tonight was a jammed agenda as it was, and it just didn't happen. But we will talk to Dr. Schaefer, and we will see, make something happen by the 26th, or else it'll fall to you guys to figure out something, and I'm not sure what the protocols require at this point.
Oh, I'm sure it's more court time for me. John's property update, again, we heard from the attorney. They had received the documentation from the sheriff's department that they had attempted service 3 times where they were unsuccessful in locating Lisa Johnson. So the request has gone to the court asking the court to allow a TAC order. And if the court will allow the TAC order, then we will begin the 10-day countdown until we actually own that piece of property.
But we haven't heard from the attorney or the court.
Right, we haven't heard yet from either one of them. Okay? So, officer appointments, you had somebody
Yeah, I was looking for my other sheet here.
that you had mentioned. I
Let's
don't
put
remember.
that in your box. I got it in here.
That's not gonna be in my box.
Yeah. Well, maybe I did something with it. Hold on.
How many copies of her letter do I have? I've got 5 copies. Everything but, no, this is still petitions, that's highway. It was somebody that,
No, I do have one, but there are others here as well. So, if you want to do this, this is up to you. I'm going to hand the sheet, so you can do this all in one swoop, if you want to do it that way. That one is good if you want it. That one is good, they're in italics. That one I did talk to Eamon about. James is okay with that one if you want to go there. I don't know about, well, Selectboard can actually pick up on Pound Keeper. That's not a problem. I don't know about Christina or Laura. Those were two to check on those, and I didn't check on Barbara.
Okay.
Although Carol said that they would no doubt go through on Howard. I don't have confirmation from them. And Susan Will she's retired now. She will weigh cold if the town, if it pleases the town.
okay? So,
Well, if it pleases the town, can we write her in for a few
Yeah,
other
really.
ones?
She's not retiring that deeply. Enough to maybe weigh a lump of coal here and there, but yeah, she doesn't want to measure a fence.
okay, so the individuals that have indicated they are willing to accept positions would be the cell tower coordinator, and that would be Craig Hunt. Energy coordinator, again, Craig Hunt. He's held this position for quite a while. Fence viewer, Eamon DeWitt. The select board's always been the pound keeper, so we can take that on. And Susan Hunt is willing to be a weigher of the coal for 2018. So I will.
Along with Joe and Maggie. Yeah.
So I will entertain nominations for those offices for those individuals.
So moved. Yeah, second.
Okay, all those in favor of appointing those individuals to those positions, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. We're kind of getting there. We still have huge holes in social services and
Windham Regional Commission would be a good one.
that's
to be
another
filling
one
in
that needs to be filled in.
With Robles and that here.
Yeah.
Andy,
Yes, sir.
would you have any interest in being on the Windham Regional Commission with Mr. Bissonette?
Mr. Bissonette?
I'm all for it.
Okay.
I nominate Andrew Snow.
Second.
For the Windham
For
Regional?
the Windham, yes.
Okay. All those in favor of appointing Andrew Snelling to the Windham Regional Commission, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations. That was an easy one. I wish they were all that easy.
They'll fill your email box as if they already had it.
They already do.
Yeah, so you already get all
It's the
this.
same mail. So.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is, it is.
But again, but Chris will address you personally now, Chris Campany, so it gets to be a little more intimate.
And we do have the annual update on the Humane Society contract. There were a few language changes, but nothing substantial. The price remains the same at, where is it in here? Where is the price?
It's on the first page, right, where your middle finger is, way at the bottom, way at the bottom, way at the bottom.
For $300. Okay. And it's just to serve as an impoundment facility for the town, for dogs that are picked up that are loose or strays or injured.
Or wandering. or not on the leash, or whatever it might be that they get a hold of them.
There's no one question. Seeing that contract is taking public money, and you will never see their meetings, board of directors meetings advertised, which they should be if it's public money.
Yeah, but I don't think this is all the public money that they
They're
take
still
in.
taking public money into that Humane Society.
We're buying a key
But,
and a
yeah.
cell. I
Right.
mean, we're purchasing, we're in contract to use their facilities.
Yeah, but how do you know what's going on? You don't get a notice of the board of directors meeting.
But we contract with other private organizations as well, even though they're not that private. They're a nonprofit, but they're
Yeah, they're
What do I-
not a
what do I wanna
public-
say?
They're not a public entity.
Rescue is in a public entity, and we use taxpayer money to contract with Rescue. Sure, the board might let you come to a meeting now and then, but.
My understanding is like that Humane Society, taking public money, they're supposed to post at board of directors meetings.
Just trying to think of other examples.
That's, if it was a private donation or something, that's something else, but this is public money coming out of my taxes.
But it's not supporting the cause. It's allowing the pound keepers and the constables to, use their facilities, and
That's no-
gives us a certain kind of discount.
Makes no difference,
Okay.
they're taking the money.
Yeah, but if we're paying them $300 to be able to bring our stuff down, why does it cost us $35 to get it back? Whether it's been there for 10 minutes or whether it's been there for 10 days.
Yeah, that's what get.
That's, I mean, well, no, I mean,
Right. Costs us $300 a year.
The thing is, one reason I brought it up, it happened to me.
we remember.
That my dog was out and somebody picked it up.
Yep,
It wasn't a constable or anybody.
okay.
No.
And it cost me $35. It had been there 15 minutes.
Well, in that case, somebody kidnapped your dog, but I don't wanna go.
No, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
I had to pay $35 to get the dog back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the town is giving some of my tax money to them in that contract.
I know, and I know it's only anecdotal. The constables over Warren has told me, because he's the constable, but he's picked up animals, and without that facility, he would have to put a dog, a stray, a cat, whatever, in his garage. And they're reluctant to kind of do that.
Mhm.
It's good to have a safe facility where somebody will look after it, feed and water it, and take care of it. It allows you to go about your business and still fulfill your role.
I'm not arguing that.
No,
But I'm saying when they had their board of directors meeting,
Right?
that should be advertised.
That's in their charter. That's not something I know about. But anyway, yeah.
I mean, not being a public, I'm sure if you look on the website, you can find out when their board of directors meetings are.
He doesn't do websites.
But,
That ain't the way the law reads. It's supposed to be, notice is supposed to be posted
for whom?
for their board of directors meeting. Just like we have to put it in the post office and all that.
But Irv, they're not a public entity.
They're taking public money.
Well, lots of people take public money, but.
Triple T is taking.
You know, Triple T's taking public money, but I don't.
Yeah, but they're
see
giving you a service.
Well,
That's
so
upfront.
is Windham County.
Well, you're paying, there's no.
The services
Once your
they-
service is provided, you still have to pay on top of the service. When you go bring your trash down to Triple T, you don't pay and then pay on top of the
No,
payment.
but the difference is we contract with them so that our constables, when they pick up a stray, have a place to take the dog. The person whose
We
dog.
went through the same argument the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, well, don't bother to argue, because I'll call the Vermont police and cities and towns, we'll find out.
Okay.
We'll get you the number.
Okay, anybody else? Is there any other discussion about the contract? No?
I got one other thing.
Yeah.
You other business yet?
No,
We haven't
contract
voted on
here.
this
We don't-
contract
we're
yet.
waiting for a motion now.
Other business.
I thought the motion was already made. Somebody made a motion.
Did Will make the motion?
I thought he
Yeah,
did.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
All right. We're good. Okay. All those in favor of signing the contract with Wyndham's, Wyndham Solid Waste?
WCHS.
Yeah, the Wyndham Humane Society to act as an impoundment facility for stray dogs and cats signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Did you say yes?
I said yes.
Okay, then the motion passes. Oops, I could send the right line. I can't see very well. I'm getting tired. All right, so, or what else did you have?
Well, they spent quite a lot of money on this fountain out here in the middle of the common, and how come it isn't going? Here it is in the middle of June or after.
Anybody want to answer that? I don't have a clue.
I don't even, I noticed that it wasn't going on Memorial Day. Usually Jeff has it going, and I haven't talked to him, but usually he doesn't need to be talked to.
No, I just was curious, is they rebuilt the whole cotton picking thing, spent quite a lot of money on it.
And every year he comes and purges it.
Usually, yeah, they
does
go
it,
on by Memorial Day.
Clerk spends a week painting it and all that, but they.
Jeff Russ.
Usually paints it. Jeff Russ, generally. I'll talk to Kurt and see if he's talking to Jeff. Still waiting for Jeff to find a gasket.
Like I say, it wasn't going, I see it hasn't been going.
No, that was.
All right. Is there anything else? Then the next regular meeting is scheduled for June 26th here. And it's going to be another long one because we've got lots of end of the year business to take care of. So I'll entertain a motion. Yeah.
Has anybody come to the power company or anything about this? It's right over across from Lane's apartment. They've got an anchor stuck way out there in the common.
They've got a couple stakes out.
And, no, but that's on over there, and you look at them poles, they're right in perfect line, right down through there. There's never been an anchor, but yet they wanna put one from here to the table way out in there.
Is that what the stakes are for anchor lengths? Because I think there's some on Route 30 going down.
This is on the common.
Yep, okay.
Then you go over where you go around to the school, they're setting a pole back, and they wanna put that one back 15, 20 feet.
They have not asked us for any variances or right-of-way permissions or permits or anything
They
else.
may not, because you're gonna have to keep after it, because over across the river, they said they could put their poles anywhere they wanted to in the right of way. Well, who knows what that, as far as I know, the only right of way they have is the road, and that's more than, from the center of the road, it's more than 25-foot limit.
Yeah, we don't need guy wires on the common.
Has anybody actually gone to read what the stakes say? Have you looked at them, Irv? Did they say they're anchors on the stakes? Supposedly they say what they're for.
Yeah, there's a pole and an anchor.
But does the stake say that's an anchor?
Yes, ANC or something like that.
I guess you're not setting up your booth on fair days.
Guess not. So much for rescue.
And then the pole was they're setting the pole back onto common that much, then turn around and putting the anchor way back out there.
Yeah, we'll call GMP. It's
Sounds like you
GMP.
need a couple of grade stakes back at your house.
Yeah. We can take care of that issue. That's no problem.
Well, I was talking to the guy the other day that they took such some great, some stakes and said they were gonna move the line and had it right in the middle of his garden.
Well, it's gonna be a problem in the middle of the common because the kids play out
Yeah,
there.
because they're gonna say, well, not only that, but like hospital day and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
it's
gonna
really good.
interfere
Yeah,
with
yeah.
some of the booths. Well, in fact, that one that I'm talking about, the pole and the anchor, is right where they had the ponies for the kids to ride.
It's either where
Have
the
they come
ponies
to
or where the
Wilson's
rescue
office? Have they looked
thing
at
is.
maps
Yeah.
or anything like that that you're aware of? Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:06.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.